All right, guys. So the comment section on last week's episode pertaining to 9/11, it was insane. I'm telling you, like, as the kids are saying these days, it was lit. It was absolutely lit. So I knew that I had to do a follow-up episode because you guys sent me down an entire rabbit hole. I mean, this is probably not even going to be the last episode on it because seriously, what in the world happened on 9/11? And the topic, by the way, is timely because yesterday it was announced that Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, will walk free. Now, if you do not know who Julian Assange is, the torment that this man has been through for the crime of telling the truth, then you have got to pay attention. 9/11 is the single most important event of our lifetimes. If we were intentionally lied to about it, then the question is, to what end? Let's talk about it. We're going to be in a lot of trouble after today. Welcome back to Candace. All right, guys, squeal, squeal, squeal. I don't even know where to start. I guess let's start with the question. What crime would you say that somebody would have to commit in order to be sentenced to 5 years in a 6.5-foot by 10-foot cell, isolated for 23 hours a day? What crime is that? What crime is that receives that sentence? Well, in places like New York and California, you can basically, and not basically, literally, shoot someone in broad daylight and expect to make bail and walk free the next day. I mean, the U.S. government has very much signaled to us that criminality is okay. They want more criminality in the streets. So what would you actually have to do to earn their real ire? Well, you'd have to expose the government. You'd have to show that the criminals are, in fact, in charge, that they are running the government. And that's exactly what Julian Assange did with WikiLeaks. You remember hearing about WikiLeaks in the back of your head. You're like, yes, it's something to do when Hillary Clinton was running and the whole mainstream media told you that it was bad and Julian Assange was bad and not to listen to anything that was coming out of WikiLeaks, probably called everybody a conspiracy theory. Yeah, well, we don't have enough time to unpack everything that WikiLeaks did uncover. Definitely not in this one monologue. But if I had to put it into just one sentence, what did Julian Assange accomplish as the founder and the editor of WikiLeaks? I would say Julian Assange exposed the military-industrial complex. Let's take a listen to what he had to say back in 2012 about our elites.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
There he is, telling us right to our faces, listen, they want to have never-ending wars, and what they're doing is they are laundering money. So now you probably are understanding where I am getting this idea from, because it's so evident everywhere you look. Ukraine, Israel, Afghanistan, they're constantly telling us that there is some new cause. You guys get to work hard. Your tax dollars, we're going to send them overseas, and then the Pentagon's going to go, whoopsies. We don't know where all the money went, but yeah, there's just another war that we have to fight. It's very obvious that money laundering is what is happening. Now, you're looking at that image of him. I think I said 2012. Actually, that was from 2011. Here are some current photos of him. Here is what they have done to him for revealing that to the public with concrete proof. Because essentially what WikiLeaks did is it published a trove of documents from presidents, communications, files, emails that were going back and forth. And they also published videos, things that were encrypted. They unencrypted them and gave them to the public. And I'll give you an example of some of the things that they showed us. They showed us a helicopter attack that was from 2010. It was a U.S. military helicopter showing the killing of civilians in Baghdad, Iraq. And a voice on the transmission urged the pilots to light them all up. They were just having fun. And then the individuals, these poor civilians on the street who were being fired at from the helicopter, were asking for help. And a van arrives on the scene to pick up the wounded. And then the van was also fired upon. Yeah. So moral. American military doing these sorts of things. It also published hundreds of thousands of documents leaked by former U.S. Army intelligence analyst Bradley Manning. You probably heard now that Bradley is Chelsea Manning. Well, those documents related to the war in Afghanistan and revealed how the U.S. military had killed hundreds of civilians in unreported incidents. The main point is that years away now, we are recognizing that a lot of what he was trying to reveal to the public, and many of us were not awake, obviously is true. The goal, of course, is never-ending war, and we are the people that are funding it. And why are we not outraged? Well, we're either too drugged. I think that's a piece of it. I talk often about big pharma and what it's doing to our minds, or we're too dumb because of big education, sending kids to school to get degrees in gender studies, getting people to focus on the social issues like racism, CRT. These people can't compute. They can't, perform basic or exhibit basic mathematical capacity. These people can't even pass basic literacy exam. Or the last component is we're too brainwashed. Or too scared to say anything if we're not brainwashed. That's how they're doing it. So they are people believing what the media is saying and other people who know that the media is lying, but they're scared to say anything because, well, look at what they did to Julian Assange. I'll tell you guys in the 9/11 comments section from last week, you guys were dropping all sorts of tidbits, had me at the edge of my seat, and I began researching things I had never even heard of, and I am now completely shaken. So yeah, I showed you guys that video of the Israelis who were celebrating. It turned out that they had connections to the Israeli intelligence apparatus, and the FBI pretty much just let them go for whatever reason. Said, okay, we looked into it, no further follow-up. Then that sort of got memory hold. Memory hold is an expression where they basically never talk about it again, and then we all just forget that it ever happened, and we move on. Well, one of you guys commented and said that I should look into the Israelis that were working at the World Trade Center who were forewarned of the attack. And oh my God, yes, that is another thing, after I researched, that has been completely memory hold, but it is true. So I'm going to show you guys, by the way, because before they say I'm a conspiracy theorist, I had to make sure that I had all of the relevant documents, all the relevant links, and I am going to include those links for you guys. So just check out the episode. You can look at the links yourself. Here is the very true story of what went down on 9/11. There was an instant messaging service that was called Odigo. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Odigo, Odigo. It was Israeli-owned and operated, and they had headquarters that were based 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center. Now, this is according to Haaretz. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. It's a very popular Israeli publication. Check out this headline from them, published September 26th, 2011. So that is 15 days after the attack. It says, Odigo workers were warned of the attacks. That is the headline. And I'm going to read you this piece of the article verbatim. It says, quote, Odigo, the instant messaging service, says that 2 of its workers received messages 2 hours before the Twin Towers attack on September 11th, predicting that the attack would happen. And the company has been cooperating with Israeli and American law enforcement, including the FBI, in trying to find the original sender of the message, predicting the attack, end quote. Seriously, you guys, what the F? And that's not all. That's not all. It's going to get even crazier. 2 weeks after 9/11, Alex Diamandis, and by the way, he was Odigo's vice president. This is the vice president of the company. Said that the messages said something big was going to happen in a certain amount of time. And it did, almost to the minute. So for whatever reason, the forewarned Odigo employees did not feel the need to pass that terror warning on to the authorities in New York, an act that would have saved thousands of lives. Here's a CNN report from September 28, 2001, further cementing that fact. It reads, quote, the FBI is looking into whether a warning sent to employees at an instant messaging company less than 2 hours before jetliners slammed into the World Trade Center was connected to the attacks, a company executive confirmed Friday. Alex Diamandis, vice president for sales and marketing with Odigo Incorporated, said there was nothing specifically about the attacks in the message, but he said it was suspicious in nature, especially because of its timing. Quote, I would describe it as a threat, a warning. Diamandis declined to comment further on the content of the message, citing the ongoing investigation. 2 employees at the Odigo office in Israel received the message at about 7 a.m. Eastern on September 11, 2021, he said. After the attacks, the staff decided to scour the server logs in order to determine the source of the message, Diamandis said. Information was then passed on to Israeli authorities, who in turn passed it to the FBI. The FBI did not confirm whether they had received any information from Odigo. So to give you guys a reference, okay, he is saying they received a message at 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern. The first tower was struck at 8:46 a.m. Eastern. So they had an hour and 46 minutes to remove themselves from the premises because they knew that something bad was going to happen. And this information was given to the FBI, and we haven't heard of it since. Not even in the media. The media just dropped it. Totally not relevant at all that somebody on Israeli messaging service was saying, hey, there's about to be a big attack. Now, what do they always say about Israel? It's our greatest ally. It's our greatest ally had information that attack was about to take place on American soil. And rather than alerting American authorities, they decided to alert other Israeli citizens. Oh, there's more. On September 12, 2001, the Jerusalem Post, also based in Jerusalem, reported in a since-archived online publication that, quote, the foreign ministry in Jerusalem has so far received the names of 4,000 Israelis believed to have been in the areas of the World Trade Center and the Pentagon at the time of the attack. End quote. Okay, fine. And yet, despite this remarkably, and that's according to someone who was traveling with Bibi Netanyahu, only 4 Israeli citizens died that day. So the foreign ministry was looking for 4,000 of them. And fortunately, and I do mean that fortunately, because I wish nobody had died that day, only 4 of them actually did die. Here's that clip of Bibi Netanyahu and his wife, and you'll hear somebody off on the side confirming that only 4 Israeli citizens died that day.
This whole section that we see here, we're running all the way down to all Cantor Fitzgerald folks.
And so there are how many Israelis?
There's 4 Israelis altogether.
Okay, fine. Take from that what you will. But I'm going to tell you another strange, real, true fact. Larry Silverstein. And this one, oh my gosh, they call you anti-Semitic for knowing it. Larry Silverstein was a prominent New York State real estate developer. He's also a personal friend of Bibi Netanyahu. He is very connected to Israeli politics and Israeli politicians and other prime ministers. Well, Larry was quite lucky. He obtained the lease for the Twin Towers just 6 weeks prior to 9/11. 6 weeks prior. He obtained the lease, and he also took out an insurance policy, which fortunately included coverage for acts of terrorism. So when it came time to collect, when the towers went down, Silverstein claimed that there were 2 incidences of terror, since 2 buildings were hit by the planes, which allowed him to seek double indemnity. So to be clear, he collected $4.5 billion from insurance on the towers that he had invested in just 6 weeks prior to the 9/11 attacks. Now, I was so shocked looking at that I wanted to debunk that. I turned to Snopes, you guys. I said, Snopes, tell me why this is not true. And of course, Snopes had an article defending Larry Silverstein. And of course, they didn't really debunk it at all. They just write, and I'll include the link to this as well, that the implication of foreknowledge is unfounded, that of course getting insurance is normal. And he wasn't the only investor. He led the consortium of investors 6 weeks prior, but he wasn't the only investor. So nothing to see there. But by the way, Larry was even more lucky than that, unbelievably. Every morning, he used to have breakfast. He used to take breakfast meetings at the World Trade Center. But on the morning of 9/11, and by the way, this is according to Larry in interviews, he just broke his own routine. He, fortunately, on the morning of 9/11, had a dermatologist appointment. So he didn't take breakfast in the towers, and that spared his life. So what are we supposed to make of all of this, all of these facts, which again, I will include links? What are we supposed to make of all of these things that have been memory holed about 9/11? And since we have been in never-ending wars in the Middle East and many Americans have died, their sons, their daughters have died overseas fighting never-ending wars. Well, I'll tell you for one hand, if we talk about it, we're instantly called conspiracy theorists. We're instantly called 9/11 truthers. We're instantly called anti-Semitic. And let me tell you, the only word for all of this, if you're not interested, if you don't find this to be remarkably suspicious, if you don't realize that we were not told everything about 9/11, the only word, the only adjective that should be launched on you is you're anti-American. And that's worst of all. I'd rather be called everything in the entire world than be called anti-American. And that's what these people in the media are. They're anti-American cowards. And you know what? I just will play their game. All right, guys. Now, obviously, I am speaking pretty purely. I am saying exactly what I want, despite people who are worried about me. And you know what? That is because I appreciate honesty, I appreciate the truth, and I appreciate pure talk. And that is one brand that is not afraid to stand by me as I say what I want. They allow me a platform to speak freely about the most important issues that we face as Americans. That's why I am happy to say that Pure Talk is still my wireless company. If you haven't made the switch yet, I encourage you to switch now. Pure Talk puts you on America's most dependable 5G network and offers unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $20 a month. Think about it. Why would you still be with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile? You can literally get the best coverage, 100% of a US-based customer service team as well. Plus, your family can save up to $1,000 a year. You'll also be supporting American jobs. It is a US veteran-led company. And the great charities that Pure Talk supports, like America's Warrior Partnership, who is on the front lines of preventing veteran suicide. So please, go to puretalk.com/Owens and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Owens and support a wireless company who shares your values. All right, guys, now let's jump into some stories. All right, guys, before we get into this first story, I want to remind you to subscribe to the YouTube channel because we are on the race to 2 million subscribers. And then, of course, we will discontinue the Standis Cup. Head to clubcandace.com because these are not going to be on sale for much longer. I think we have just probably one more week before we cross 2 million subscribers, gratefully. All right. First story. So this girl has been going viral. Her name is Lily Gaddis, and people have been asking me what I think about it. And I actually did not have time to look into what she had said. I knew that she was being referred to colloquially as the N-word girl. What a name. The N-word girl, Lily Gaddis. And so let's watch what Lily Gaddis had to say and assess why she is going viral. Take a listen.
I'm sick and tired of all girls getting blamed, or like guys, certain guys, thinking that all girls are gold diggers. I don't know if it's because you get your information from those street interviews in like Miami at 3 a.m. outside of a nightclub. You're getting the opinion of some dumb whores and immigrants fresh off the boat looking for a green card. Yes, they are probably gold diggers, but that's the exception. I'm the rule. Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke-ass niggas, and they don't care. We don't give a about your money. I couldn't care less about your money, okay? My type is broke mechanics and surfer hippie dudes who just want to live in a shack and surf and have babies. All I ask of a man is that you're competent, you're not a pussy. If somebody broke into our house at 3 a.m., you would know how to grab a gun and shoot a mother.
Okay, so obviously you can see the internet was very upset because she used the N-word, and the N-word is a very specific word that only Black people are allowed to say and put in all of their music as they encourage white people and Spanish people and everybody to listen to it, but we're the only ones that are allowed to say it, so people were outraged, and then they were looking for her to apologize, and here is what she said instead. Take a listen.
So a recent video of mine seems to have upset members of a certain community, and all the backlash just really made me, just really do a deep dive, like do a soul search. And after all that, I still couldn't find a care.
So personally, I respect this, and I'm going to tell you why for a couple of reasons. The first is not because I think that we should all be running around saying the N-word. I just think that it's an all or nothing policy, okay? If Black people can say it, then everybody can say it. If Black people can put it into their music and they can win Grammy Awards for putting it into their music, and they can sing their songs on stage, and people can be in the crowd singing along to every lyric, and then what? White people that are bopping to Cardi B, and they're just at a concert going like this, and they have to just like cover their mouths every time she says the N-word, every couple of lines. That makes no sense. It's stupid. It's just stupid. I've never agreed with this. I do not agree with speech for some people and not for the other people, especially because she used that phrase in its context, like literally in the context that rappers use it in. She's not referring to a Black person. She's not saying it to demean a Black person. Actually, to the opposite, she's talking about men that don't have money. Now, in regards to what she actually was saying in this clip, you may not like her delivery, but what she's basically saying is that Instagram and Twitter are not real life, and that the majority of people are regular, normal human beings that are married to other regular, normal human beings, and that these girls that you see thirst trapping on Instagram and looking for money and putting themselves on OnlyFans are not average. Get outside of your own phone, I think is what she is trying to imply. And so she has since been going viral, making a ton of videos. She recently also did a video talking about how a lot of these people who are deciding on what we can and cannot say politically, what we can and cannot do politically, are nerds who have been given a platform. And obviously people were offended by this. She was talking about them like these are the theater kids and we shouldn't be listening to them. I actually have a take. I have literally said that to someone behind closed doors a couple of years ago, because that's been my experience in politics, where I've seen certain people do and say certain things. And I thought to myself, they give me a vibe like they maybe were bullied when they were in high school, and now that they have a little bit of power, they don't know how to use it. And they're kind of trying to boss people around, like they just like can't be cool and chill out. And I'll give you an example of a person who I think tripped over into this, because I used to be a reader of Milo Yiannopoulos when he was an editor at Breitbart. He wrote great pieces. They were phenomenal pieces. This was very early on in my political turning, so to speak. And he was, I would describe him as sort of like a geeky, I don't mean to be offensive, but like just a writer, a really brilliant writer. And then when he got a little bit of fame, he just went overboard into this like character where he was wearing sunglasses and siding, wearing Dolce & Gabbana. And that felt to me like somebody who was trying to live out his high school years. Like maybe this is my chance to be cool. And I just didn't think it was authentic. I actually just wish he had remained like the writer who had really interesting pieces, because it's actually cool to be a geek. It's not cool to be a geek that's pretending to be something that they're not, if that makes any sense. And so while you may not appreciate her delivery, it has been my experience in politics. And again, I'm using Milo as one example. I'm also talking about people in Congress, like people who just love the cameras and are constantly saying things in Congress. Like when I had to testify, I mean, who disagrees that Jerry Nadler belongs in a locker? No one. You all agree with me. Jerry Nadler belongs in a locker, right? All of these people that they had testifying next to me, I object strenuously to what she's saying. It does give off a certain vibe. And that's not to discount people that are theater kids. What I am saying is that because of the unique situation of American politics, where you can become famous if you say certain things in politics, I think that for people that like theater, there is a draw. So I think I am basically taking what she has said and making it much more eloquent. I find her to be somewhat interesting. If she can deliver her ideas, maybe I'll get her in for an interview. If she's able to communicate her ideas in a different way, I think there's a lot more going on. I think people are upset with her because she's being blunt, but I think she's got some good ideas. All right, guys, now moving on. I am going to have to now show you this clip, because the live chat is always so lit on this show. And yes, you guys, it's actually me in the live chat. Why are you guys always, is this actually Candace or AI? Would I let somebody be AI Candace? No, that's ridiculous. I live chat the show every day. We film it a couple of hours before, and then I like to live chat with you guys. And I said yesterday, if we get to 12,000 watching live, I'm going to do a flip. It's not a backflip, but I can't do a backflip, but I can do a flip. And so here is a video of me doing a flip. this morning, and I'm having Savannah take the video, and this is really embarrassing. All right, the things I do for the live chat, I'm going to attempt to round off, because if I do a backflip, I will die. Woo! It's got a catch for something. I swear, you guys make me do so much. My husband said, never challenge the internet. The internet will always win. And I made a mistake. But there you go. At least I did a flip and I did not break my neck. All right, you guys. Now I want to talk to you about American Financing. You know that they are great sponsors of this show. We also all know that in today's economic climate, you have so many people that are facing challenges. Maybe they don't have to do a backflip, but it's just the challenge of the expenses. We see them going up. We're talking about never-ending wars. Americans that are now turning to credit cards and they have high interest rates. And that pretty much just traps you in the cycle of debt. You have balances that are persisting every month after month after month, and you're probably just paying the minimum each month, just trying to keep your head above the water. And becoming debt-free that way will and can take years. Here's what you should do. You should reach out to American Financing. They're a trusted partner in helping people achieve financial freedom. It's all about just making that first call. You know, when you're in debt, I remember Sally Mae was chasing me for student loans and you just want to hide in a hole and change your name. That's not the way. You just got to approach it. Just face it head on. So if you're a homeowner and you're dealing with this, give them a call. You know, they can tap into your home's equity and help you eliminate high interest credit card debt. On average, their customers save $854 per month, and that is essentially like getting a $10,000 annual raise. The process is straightforward. It's quick. You can close your loan in as little as 10 days. And by acting today, you might not even have to pay your next month mortgage payment. It costs nothing to see how much you can save. The opportunity to regain control of your finances is too significant to ignore. So please, call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Don't forget the /Owens. All right, guys, let's get into some of your comments. You guys were so mad at me yesterday for defending Justin Timberlake. I'm sorry. I do think that it is like people are angry about the Britney Spears thing and they're angry for her because of what was done to her. And I feel that anger too. But I think regarding extending that hatred to Justin Timberlake, it feels a little not balanced, I guess is the best way to put it. And for those of you that were like, oh, you defended his DUI, I did not defend his DUI, nor would I ever defend his DUI. I was speaking specifically about the hatred that he's kind of been painted as this like woman hater all of a sudden. And so, yeah, some of you guys are really mad at me. I'm going to read a couple of your comments. This person wrote, we decided to hate Justin Timberlake when Britney came out and said he pressured her into her abortion and she literally lost her ish after that. She wanted the baby and thought they would marry. She wanted to wait for marriage. He pressured her. That's when we decided that he is a piece of blank. Then drinking and driving as a celebrity with chauffeurs. Nope, unacceptable. 80+% of women would keep their child if they had a supportive partner. That said, we can do this. I'm here for you and this baby now and forever. If the man steps up, the woman admits she wouldn't abort. Listen, I am not disagreeing. I am pro-life. I 100% believe that when you have a partner that supports you, most women would in fact say yes to life. But you cannot separate the woman from that process. You can't then say she's alleviated of guilt because she had a partner who didn't want to have a kid. And like I said yesterday, I've got people in my family who were peer pressured, people with absolutely no money, people that are on welfare who were peer pressured into getting an abortion and they didn't do it. Okay, so you're going to have to miss me with the idea that a woman that was in her prime with every person in the entire world loving her couldn't make that decision. In fact, what I really loved were people that were in the comments who were saying, yes, I was in this predicament and I chose life, right? We can't just excuse Britney Spears and because of what happened to her later down in the life. What I'm saying is it takes two to tango. So just like when she gets support, she might say yes. You know, she also, without the support, could have turned to a parent, a grandparent, a friend, a cousin, a brother, a sister, and received that support. And like I said, they were both so young that even though it's a horrific situation and what she went through obviously would have impacted her, which is another reason why I'm pro-life. I know how much it impacts women that do go through the abortion who are not Chrissy Teigen and deranged. Because of all of those things, I think that people are just being very, very harsh on him only because of what happened to Britney Spears. But there's no excuse for his DUI. I never made any excuses for his DUI. Next person writes, Justin Timberlake isn't hated, but he also isn't above the law. Just don't drink and drive. Correct. He could have killed somebody. Totally agree with you. Romeo writes, I don't hate Justin Timberlake. However, he made a mistake and he should face the consequences just like any other human. This will ruin the tour. Cool story, bro. You ruined the tour when you made the decision to drink and drive. Yes, ma'am. I agree with you. Like I said, and the annoying thing is we know he's going to get a slap on the wrist because he has money and he has resources. But I think Justin Timberlake needs to check himself into rehab and get his life together. That's what I honestly believe, because there's obviously something going on in his marriage. And I think Brett Cooper had it right. Like they're just saying some weird stuff about their marriage. Now, cutting over to Chrissy Teigen on abortion, like the idea that we should put these two in the same category, no. Chrissy Teigen is a full-blown adult that has used IVF, who has used surrogates, who has children, who is not talking about something that she did 23 years ago. She is actively promoting abortion clinics as places of hope and places that make her excited and places that make her feel emotionally happy. This woman is disturbed. Amanda agrees. She writes, I was pro-choice after being forced into having an abortion by my ex-boyfriend at 18. No one talks about how traumatic it is. It's so emotionally and spiritually damaging, and I was lost until I recognized that. Abortion is trauma to women, and the feminists who say it's healthcare never want to consider the mental toll it takes to kill your own baby. Clarification for those who say I couldn't be forced. I accept I chose abortion over violence. I was told if I didn't make the appointment, I would be thrown down the stairs, as this man did not want me to ruin his life. I was a naive woman with a toxic and godless man, sadly. Speaking more to the point of situations that young women are in. And when you compound that with the psychological brainwashing that's happening in the school system every day, like a kid's going to ruin your life, which, by the way, men are sitting in on those classes too. They're learning the same things. This kid is going to ruin your whole life and all of your potential. It does create situations of violence, and I have seen those situations of violence within my own family. So, Amanda, I'm so happy that you recognize and are willing to share about how emotionally and spiritually damaging it is, and you recognize how much women like Chrissy Teigen lie by trying to glamorize it. It is just absolutely sickening. Lush Rimbaugh, haha, I see what you did there, writes, I got a girl pregnant when I was 22, and we assumed abortion was the norm at that age. The media sure leads you to believe it is. My mother asked why we would want to get one, and we replied, well, we have our whole lives ahead of us, and we don't know how to be parents or to provide yet. My mom said, having children is the most natural thing in the world, and if you believe in God, you believe that God will provide. And it clicked for us. What kind of Christian would I be denying the gift of life because of earthly fears? Don't believe the Chrissy Teigens of the world. Bam! That's what I'm talking about. A success story. They were fearful, and they had somebody like a mother who said, listen, you're going to be great. You're going to be natural. They had that guiding light. That's a wonderful story. And I'm so glad to hear that you chose life. And we just have to think about how we communicate this message to the people that are young, 18, 19, 20, coming out of school, hearing that brainwashing to make them believe that they can't choose life, right? That is what we actually have to combat, because it's sad and it is unfortunate. But I think more and more people are awake than ever before. I mean, that really is the conclusion of this episode. We're talking about topics you couldn't talk about. We are talking about God again, which is amazing. You feel this spiritual awakening happening all across the world, where also part of the brainwashing was trying to convince me when I was young that God's not cool. People that read the Bible are not cool. Christians are bad and backwards and antiquated. And I'm like, what are we even talking about? The coolest thing in the entire world is having a faith and dedicating yourself to God. And I hope that you take away these tidbits. And even if you're, shy about it and you're like, ooh, I don't know, I am telling you, the beginning does not begin with man. It begins with God. You got this, guys. Lastly, we are going to wrap this with a Manect comment. That's the app I'm on. Find me, send me a message. I'll send you a voice mail answer or a voice message answer, audio answer. That's the right way to say it. Gosh, I sound like such a grandma. This person wrote to me, which was a little tidbit. Candace, Neil Oliver dropped an absolute bomb on Tucker that is largely going unnoticed. He brought up how he believes that aspirin contributed largely to the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. I was curious, so I did my own research, and I believe he is onto something. Bayer's patent expired in 1917, and in order to shield itself from generic competitors, it undertook a massive propaganda ad campaign to take only their pill. At the time it was being prescribed to treat the flu, sound familiar? And the AMA suggested taking up to 25 325 milligram tablets per day. It's my belief that many folks who would have otherwise recovered from the flu kept themselves sick by taking lethal doses of aspirin when it was, in fact, the aspirin keeping them sick. I believe a mass formation psychosis was formed in 1918 among the population. Not so much looking for a response, but I think conservative commentators have dropped the ball on this, and I'd love for you to cover this. Please do not use my name. Thank you. No worries. We did not use your name. Here's what I will say. You guys know I produce A Shot in the Dark. I am, as they call me, anti-vax. I am proudly anti-vax. I do not vaccinate my children. I understand the evils that we are fighting, and the big pharma cartel is a huge piece of that. I have known about how they have lied in the past about so many vaccines. And yes, it is all about propaganda. It's all about fear. It's all about psychosis. And going back to Lily and saying the cool kids versus the nerdy kids. Well, one thing that the nerds like to do, and when they get into power, is to bully us. Like literally the bullied become bullies and they start calling us names, conspiracy theorists, anti-vax, you're off your rocker if you believe this. Well, guess what? You got to stand up to the bullied bullies, okay? You got to say, I don't really care what name you call me. Yes, I wear the hat. I am proudly anti-vax. Oh, are you a 9/11 truther? Yes, I would like to know the truth about 9/11. There's some pretty severe implications. So have the courage to stand up to bullies and pursue truth. We'll see you guys tomorrow.